This is the Commercial AgCast, part of the Center for Commercial Agriculture at Purdue University. And this is a series of conversations that we're having with people who are going to help us try to understand the ag economy.
Hopefully, this is not your first time listening to the podcast. You've heard some of our other previous episodes. If you haven't, go back and check them out. We've got some great...
Two specifically.
We've got two great previous episodes. If you're listening to this sequentially, I mean, you could have... We don't know where you're dropping in. This might be a binge listener.
This might be 2027.
We're prone to just go off on weird tangents. But today we're talking to... Chad, tell us who we're meeting with.
We're talking to my good friend, Brant Caley.
Brant Caley. And I think that's critical that you said good friend, because I want to warn the listener, this is part of an ongoing conversation you and Brant have had for decades.
That is true.
He works in ag tech. He also explains the ag tech world. I'll just be honest. I don't really understand what the heck ag tech is. Brant's going to talk about the firm he works for now and some of the products that they're doing. Hopefully, it won't be a sales pitch. But help us to sort of, again, as we say, we're trying to understand the ag economy. So we've really enjoyed this conversation. We learned a ton. We hope you do too.
I am Chad Fiechter. Some of you may know me for my work in the department, but more importantly, on the 2004 Norwell High School co-ed FFA basketball team.
That's right.
I was the starting power forward. That's what I'm going to call that I was. And I'm joined here by my co-host.
Todd Kuethe. I was not on this team. But
Oh, you weren't?
no.
We're also joined by a good friend and an expert in many things.
Oh, gosh.
Brant, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. I'm Brant Caley. I was the best player on this 2004 co-ed FFA team.
What was your position? Because that's a...
Just give me the ball. Yeah.
He was all the positions.
Just give me the ball. For the record, we did not win a game.
I thought we won one.
Oh man,
It was like a Thursday afternoon tournament at Belmont High School, I think.
There's no way we beat Belmont High School.
No, we definitely didn't beat them.
Yeah.
They're FFA team.
They're co-ed FFA team.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question here, clarifying question. Are there micro rules about the co-ed nature? Like, do you have to have a certain number of women on the court at a time?
Or Todd, I hadn't thought about this team until, in seriously, 21 years, until Chad brought it up a few minutes ago.
You just gave away our age.
Yeah,
I guess we didn't tell them about what year.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay.
You did say 2004. We could all do the math.
Yeah, but we could have been freshmen.
It doesn't matter. I mean, if we were a freshman or if you're a senior,
It's true.
Regardless, I don't know the rules. I do know that, like, if you looked at, and by the way, I'm not good at basketball, but if you look at like our FFA crew, yeah, Chad and I we were the ringleaders, at least in our memory.
Yeah.
In our memory, we
if you remember it differently, call in.
Well, because there was so I played ultimate frisbee in college, and we were on a co-ed team for a while, and then we had a men's team. But the co-ed team, the rule is like whoever goes onto the field first sets how many women play, and women have to match up with women.
Oh, okay.
I'll be honest, I don't remember there being women on our FFA.
There was. I feel very confident there was. I don't think there was rules about who could guard who or who had to be on the court.
Okay.
I don't think.
There probably should have.
I know the other team, whoever they would be like on that 4 position. We're going to match up with their best guy, probably.
Yeah. I mean, they were scouting for me. I think I've always been known a little more for my defensive prowess than anything else.
Getting the boards.
Yeah,
You're like a junk man, like Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
Let's get a foul.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got 5 to give.
I actually do think I fouled out in one game.
He probably did.
I think I did.
He probably did.
Yeah.
That's consistent. Anyway, should we do work on this podcast?
No,
Maybe.
let's talk more about FFA basketball.
Well, I think, Brant, so you're clearly here because of your basketball skills.
That's right.
And other things. So you kind of hold a couple jobs that are interesting to us. Can you talk about what other things you do?
Yeah. Chad and I have been friends for a long time, if you can't tell. And I currently am on farm in Markland, Indiana, so our family farms there. I help when I can, surely not as much as my dad would like for me to help. Surely not as much as I'd like to help, to be honest. So I do have that responsibility. I have also worked for Gradable, which is a joint venture between FBN and ADM. I've been with FBN for 9 years.
So our listeners, and we now know
Yeah,
we have multiple
multiple.
listeners because Chad's mom listens, and Brant said he listened to the podcast on the way over.
We're at 2.
Yeah.
So we got 2 for sure. So in case Chad's mom does not know, what does FBN stand for?
Oh, yeah, good call.
Yeah. So FBN is Farmers Business Network. We're a ag technology company founded in 2014. The goal of FBN is to use data and technology to help farmers be more profitable.
Well, one, I like you. But 2 is we wanted to talk about ag tech because it would be honest for me as in my current role as a professor and Todd in your role that we hear a lot about ag tech. So you're kind of here to help open the hood a little bit and help us understand what's happening, what you've seen, because you've done this for quite a while. You were what number employee at Farmers Business Network?
Yeah, so I think I was originally employee 65, but fast forward 9 years, and I think I'm now like the 11th or 12th most tenured person at FBN.
But
which is kinda exciting.
prior to FBN, you were also in ag tech, right?
Yeah, so I was at Trimble. So Trimble does GPS on tractors. Was there for 8 years. Not the whole time in ag. I spent a couple years doing some construction and learning that side of the world. But for the most part, ag technology.
Do you think, is there anyone, this is going to sound like a really stupid, is there anyone that has as much tenure as you in the ag tech industry? Like, do you meet people that have the same amount of time?
Oh, definitely. I mean, some of my mentors like at Trimble that have been in the space
Okay.
for that long. I would say most of the people that have been in the industry that long are like Trimble folks, Trimble, early John Deere folks.
Because, okay, so that in that era, the long era of ag tech would have been hardware around precision ag technologies, correct?
Yeah, definitely.
And anything else that would have gone beyond sort of like we're looking outside of a 15-year prior to today, is there anything?
Yeah, I mean, like
it's
pure,
clearly digital, right? Like it's meant to be.
there were probably some ag software, like accounting software type companies, but no, I would say really right to start the digital ag software space, you had to have digital ag or ag data to work with, which requires hardware. So I'd say hardware first, and then that had its run, and then the internet kind of unlocked everything else that's come from that.
So tell us a little bit about sort of like maybe your kind of career training and education prior to that, or alternatively, like if a student told us like, I'd love to work in ag tech, then what should we tell them they should do now to be able to enter that space?
Yeah. So I definitely had a weird path to get here. So, grew up on a farm, loved technology, but did not go to school for this, right? So I came to school to be a personal finance advisor, like a financial advisor.
So what should we do with our 401? No, I was kidding.
Yeah. No, exactly. But I, went to school for that, graduated in 2008, May of 2008.
Tough time to find a job.
Not a great time to be a financial advisor. So
or an easy one. Or an easy one because you're like, do whatever you want at this point. Like,
honestly, I just feel like, who am I to like go in and help anybody here?
Yeah.
Like the market was in just absolute free fall.
and you did start in doing like derivative products on submarket housing, probably, which is not advisable. That's an inside the weeds job. All right, sorry.
I'd say I had no idea what that was when I graduated.
Well, that's which nobody did in 2008.
Yeah. So graduated in 2008 with that degree, didn't really want to get into that space. And then just kind of through some awesome circumstances with some friends, fell into this job at Trimble, originally doing training for precision ag technology, how to install the stuff onto tractors was my first job. Got that job through like my aunt's friend. Just like, how on earth did that happen? I just very blessed in that sort to get into the space.
Well, I wonder, maybe this is, I'm wrong at this, but I sort of have this prior belief or bias that there's a lot of people in tech world that are they're smart and coachable. And then they sort of like, oh, you could, like, I have several friends that like sort of write software for things. And they're often just like, oh, I already did this because like I like computers or whatever. And like they kind of sort of fall into it more than like being like 19 and being like, I'm going to do this or whatever.
Yeah, I'd be curious what it's like now, right? But I would say in 2008, ag technology wasn't a thing, at least that I don't think it was talked about here. I'm sure Purdue didn't have a program for back in 2008. Maybe they did.
We had one professor, because I took one ag systems management class.
Okay.
And we literally walked around the ag mall with stationary Raven systems.
Yeah.
Taking coordinate points.
Yeah.
And that was our homework.
Yeah.
Well, when I was a graduate student here, I worked for a semester, and the guy told me that one of his graduate students was the first person in agricultural economics that used a spreadsheet.
Wow.
So like that's like
Crazy.
we're like we went from like nothing to all of this faster than you'd think, right?
Crazy.
Okay, so if you were giving advice to students, because I have many more questions, we got to get Brant 2x speed. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I would say advice for students is, for me, it was just, I think I found kind of my passion, what I enjoyed to do. I didn't really know it existed, but I knew a lot about farming, enjoyed a lot of aspects of the farm, and then knew I enjoyed technology, and comes to find out there's jobs in this space, right? And I think some of my advice is always just to like find what you're passionate about and what you're good at, what like you think about when you can't fall asleep at night, that sort of thing. And then if you like find that passion, I do think that you can have success because you enjoy working in that space.
Again, it's kind of maybe related here, but for the other folks that you interact with in the ag tech space, what share would you say are sort of like ag folks maybe from a farm background that kind of find a passion in kind of technology or software or whatever, versus people that are sort of tech focused, that they're like, oh, ag has interesting problems, I'll work there?
Yeah. I think probably way more of the latter, at least in my current role. FBN has offices in California, so I think it's just a little bit more tech focused. I think there's a lot of people that have passions for kind of the food system, passion for farmers, and they're very like attracted to the mission of FBN. So I would say they're more tech people that were attracted to the mission and want to help farmers and help the food system. Where I would say Trimble is probably more the opposite. It was a lot of like people with more ag backgrounds that then kind of found their way into that space. So I'd say it probably depends on where you're at. My
I would
guess.
imagine like Silicon Valley, California would be sort of tech first, right?
Yeah.
But if you're in Indiana or Nebraska or something, right?
That's kind of what my guess would be. But I also think there's just fewer and fewer people, I think, that like grew up or have a similar background to like Chad and I, where like grew up kind of on a row crop farm where it was our dad's livelihoods to run the farm. We kind of got firsthand experience. We grew up driving tractors at a young age and like
Playing
that.
FFA basketball.
Playing FFA basketball.
That's a good point.
That's right.
Good callback, Todd. Yeah.
But that like started like that ingrained in it. I don't feel like there's a ton of people that grew up in that environment and then like go out and don't they don't just go back to the farm. So I'd say I don't know that there's a ton of people that have the same background as me. Okay. So probably more people that are like tech focused that found an interest in ag is what.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. So this is, I'm just thinking of this right now. I listened to a presentation by someone at Microsoft, and so they're really trying to, I guess they're trying to get into sort of ag technology and digital technology in agriculture. And they had like this promo video, and on the promo video, it was like this farmer in Washington State who also happened to be like, had gotten an undergraduate and master's degree in computer science, and he had developed all of these things for his farm, and they were kind of like co-opting them into the Microsoft system. How often do you find people like that, where they're like, they were heavy sort of tech, very technical, in the weeds, coding, and then they were like, oh yeah, but then I also on the side operate a large farm.
Those seem like unicorns, don't they? Like,
well, I think that's what I thought when I was watching the promo videos. I'm like, that might be the one. Or again, call
I mean, we both have brothers that did computer science work or computer engineering. So maybe they're not total unicorns, but like the true. One thing that I do think that farmers are true tinkerers, right? There's a lot of farmers that like to build things. So I guess it's probably not surprising that our generation of them like lean towards technology. Yeah. And they choose to.
Do you think there'll be more of that? Because like, I think that if you were to think about the people that we know that are farmers, they do this, right? They build up stuff. They change machines. If they would understand, if digital was one of the first places they were thinking through that, would they be doing the same stuff? Like, do you think we'll see more of that?
I hope so, because I think it would definitely help to get more folks that like this was like their livelihood and their.
Well, I do know of at least one student since I've been back here on faculty that was telling me that like he's in one of the ag fraternities, and they had a bunch of dudes that would sit around and build stuff with Raspberry Pi, which is like a little computer chip thing that you can like write your own code to like turn on a light switch or do like sort of silly mundane things, but but they were like, and I was like, oh, that's no different than like when I was in college and dudes would have been like replacing their own oil on their trucks, you know, in the parking lot.
Yeah,
like it's a similar kind of idea, I think.
I do think some of the new, I don't know if you guys have tinkered with any of the new like LLM tools and the ability to like create programs just using prompts.
Oh yeah,
I do think that will probably unlock some farmers, like people that like to tinker, like technology, but don't know how to code, which I would fall in that category for the record. Sure. But like I do know how to like play around with ChatGPT and put together prompts, and there's all these tools that are out there. So I do bet you'll see some like kind of cool apps that come from farmers just to solve like their niche problem on the farm because it's so accessible now.
Yeah,
that wasn't available before.
Okay, so where else are people located working for FBN?
Yeah, so COVID kind of made FBN change the dynamics of FBN quite a bit. So we used to have kind of a couple offices, and one in Sioux Falls, one in San Francisco area, San Carlos. And with COVID, we went remote. We do still have an office in San Mateo, which is close to the San Carlos area. So technically that's our headquarters. But everybody else is pretty distributed.
This is my poor understanding of the tech world, and maybe my skeptic of sort of going to extension meetings and people come in and talk about ag tech. How much do you think there's sort of a limit to the growth of ag tech based on the appetite or knowledge for technology? So I run the Purdue Farmland Value Survey, and we switched from doing paper surveys to doing a online version 5-6 years ago.
Yep.
And there was a lot of concern of like, are we going to lose some of our respondents because they are just like, they're not doing computers, right? Do you think that they're like, or is it just because I'm going to extension meetings, which cater more towards sort of older crowd maybe, or does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that most of the folks that farming is their like primary source of income, I think they're pretty ingrained in technology. I think. I mean, and most everybody has smartphones now, so at least they're like capable of that.
If you can build it simple enough, then they could interact. Right?
Yeah. So in my experience working with farmers, I think that the computer phase, like I think for most farmers just skip that, right? So like I grew up, I went like computer and now smartphone. I think most farmers are just like, I don't want to mess with computers.
Just smartphone.
Right. They went straight to smartphone, and I don't know that like companies have totally caught up to that. I mean, I would say FBN has tried, but I think figuring out how to monetize that and make like a really good business off of that, I think has been difficult. But I think my opinion is that the like people are there, the technology is ready to be used. I think we still have some work to do to bring solutions to them.
And then sort of looking at the landscape of ag tech companies, the other thing that I'm always curious about is, are people like sort of looking at problems and thinking about technology as solutions to problems versus sort of having technology and looking for problems where they can apply that?
Oh, good question. I would say that it's probably been a little bit too much of the latter, right? Where like I have this technology, where do I put it? And I hope that over the next few years it will go the other way, right? Because that's how it should be, right? It should be, where's your problems? How can we use technology to fix it?
Although I didn't realize that waiting in line to grab coffee was a problem for me until I had a smartphone. And then I realized like, oh, I can look at pictures of cats or whatever while I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So sometimes not, having the technology first before you realize some of our problems we don't necessarily recognize as problems right now, right? Yeah. So
I think I hope this is what I try to do in my job, is to kind of, first of all, to the involvement that I am on the farm, is like, what problems do I feel on the farm? And then talking to other farmers, what are the problems you feel? But still starting with the problem, right? And then, okay, what do I know about different technologies that are out there? How could we build some software to help solve that problem? So I still hope that we can accomplish that and start with the problem and build a solution off of that, rather than like trying to force people to use an app that they don't want to use.
So we'll jump into the heart of this podcast, the thing that makes Chad and I very excited, which is tasks.
Yeah.
So like walk us through what you do like in a day or typical week. Like what are the sort of tasks that someone who's in the ag tech space does?
Yeah. So for me, it's very seasonal. Depends on what's going on that time of year. My role right now is I work for a joint venture called Gradable. We are trying to digitize the grain marketing decision and how grain gets purchased or sold by farmers and purchased by grain buyers. And our focus for the last few years has been very focused in sustainability programs, because that is the kind of the best path to digitizing that transaction. Is you have to have a reason to do it.
Does it come from like the customer's demand to know about the sustainability of the products they're purchasing?
So far, our demand has come from the grain buyers wanting to access markets, sustainability markets.
Yep. And so you're going to give some sort of measure that these things are compliant with what you're wanting out of this product, right? They're maybe harder to measure in just sort of traditional.
Yeah, I can give the simplest way to explain it would be, one of our partners, grain buyers, that sells into the biofuel market. There's a lot of demand, mostly overseas, for ISCC certified fuel,
Which ICCC?
it's International Sustainability Carbon Certification, right? It's like the most cliche name you could come up with.
Yeah.
But the idea is like this fuel is made in a more sustainable way. This fuel is made in a more equitable way. There's demand for that overseas. So our biofuel partners can get a premium if they sell it overseas, if it gets this stamp of ISCC on it. Well, to get that stamp, they have to go all the way down to the farm level to check with farmers to make sure that they're doing certain steps, and also to check the carbon intensity score of that grain. The only way that they can access that market is if they partner with somebody like Gradable to go and work with the farmers to collect the information to make sure that they qualify.
Some little validation of.
Yeah. So we go through this whole process. So you asked for my day-to-day. For part of the year, for like 3 months out of the year, I'm leading a team that's just trying to collect that information from farmers. So we have a small window after harvest to collect. We do surveys with 4,000, 5,000 farmers to collect this information to get them qualified for premium payments so that they can be a part of these programs. So part of the year is just like very focused on talking to farmers, getting them through this process. And then the rest of the year, we're really kind of just focused on gearing up for the next. So building technology to make sure that we can intake that data, trying to make it as optimized as possible. And then over the last few months, Roll's been a little bit more involved on the grain marketing side of things. So how do we create a product for farmers to help them better market their grain is kind of the next phase goal for Gradable.
And so then again, like kind of tasks would be developing these surveys or information collection.
Yeah, I can
processing it when it comes in. Right.
So that's part of the season is when we're doing sustainability work. When we're trying to develop like a new piece of software, a new technology for farmers to help them with grain marketing, which has been the goal for the last few months. It really starts with my own pain points of trying to help our family market our grain, and then going out and talking to a group of farmers. We probably talked to 30, 40 farmers and just ask them to like walk us through how they market their grain.
Similar to this podcast. Just explain to us what's going on. Yeah. Okay.
So a lot of like kind of information gathering. You're just trying to figure out where the pain points are.
And this is you personally having the conversation. Like
for this project, this is me.
You're sitting down, you're talking to some people probably that I know too.
Yeah.
Okay.
A handful of them. Yep. Some of them happened at Commodity Classic.
There you
go. Classic. So yeah, we're going through trying to figure out the pain points. Then once we get the pain points, it's okay. We've done our research. Now we're going to go work with our product development team. So working closely with the designer. Okay, here's some ideas. The goal of the designer is to kind of take these ideas and refine them and make them come to life, I guess, and even better than what we originally planned. And then once we get past the design phase, we go back to farmers. Like, okay, here's what we came up with. They make some tweaks, make some adjustments. And then once we get past that design phase, then we're in build phase. So that's where we've been for the last few weeks, is in the build phase, which is, we have engineers that we're meeting with on a daily basis. What have you worked on? We're getting new builds, right? So they send us out new beta versions and we're testing it. We're reporting bugs and then we're prioritizing bugs. And then they have to fix those bugs, and you can't fix all the bugs. So it's like, what do you do to get as close to perfect as possible? And then ultimately we'll launch this app here, and probably after this podcast comes out. And then the cycle repeats, right? It's okay. What's the next feature we want to release? Where are the pain points? What is feedback? What do we?
Yeah, or people will tell you like, oh, it'd be nice if I could do this.
Yeah.
I can't figure out how to do that now. And like, well, we got to figure out how to either make that easier or make it do that, right? Or
Exactly.
whatever.
Exactly.
Okay, so I have a question. This is a big question.
Yeah.
So it seems like a lot of the technology that like I hold up as my favorites in my personal life, I'm a consumer consuming a thing that I don't really need, right? Like, so like going on to Duolingo and paying $120 a year so that I can have full hearts every day is very different than a farmer saying, I'm going to.
Es muy difícil.
Wow.
Nice.
Big Duolingo fans here. Like and subscribe. But like the farmers are running a business as opposed to just being purely sort of a consumer. So has that been part of the challenge, right? Like, because it seems like sometimes some of these applications that I see developed are assuming that the farmer is going to treat them kind of like a consumer product where there is no real bound to how much money, right, they'll spend versus like when you're in a business, it's going to end up in your bushel of corn or soybeans or cotton or whatever else. Like, is part of that the problem that we've seen?
First of all, there has been some like really successful apps created for farmers. Like I think the John Deere Op Center app is awesome. I think farmers use that a lot. So I do think that if you find a problem and then here's an idea, like solve that problem for the farmer, then they will use it. But I think if you like try to force them to use an app,
Have they really monetized Op Center? Like that's the part that is confusing to me. Is I'm like, people use it, but are they using it? Like what are they using it for?
yeah. So I do think you have to be kind of creative with monetizing these apps because I don't think that like, I mean, FBN had a subscription model for a while and it did have some success. We had thousands of users sign up at $600 a year to be a member of FBN. Some of them were to use the app. I think a lot of them were to get access to the chemicals that we were selling at a lower cost. But ultimately, we scrapped that because the way to monetize it was by getting more farmers onto the app, so that you could get more farmers buying or using FBN Finance, buying from FBN Direct. So that's kind of the path that FBN took, and I think John Deere's path is probably more. I mean, I won't speak for them, but I would guess that theirs is let's get people using the app so they buy more tractors.
Yeah. But it's all like these indirects, right? Like it's all kind of like, it feels like ag tech is indirect. Like it's like this is a service that we're going to provide so you'll have deeper engagement with our core set of products.
It's a complementary product
right.
in a lot of cases, right?
Yeah.
Where like Duolingo is clearly just, I'm using them because but like it's clearly just like they've integrated into my life.
Yeah.
Right. And I spent that money because like I'm a consumer and
So I think what Chad's saying is we need to figure out a way for farmers to get streaks that they keep.
That
seems to be.
Well, I mean, that might change it. I don't know. Yeah. I just think there's like there's a part where I observe it where the ag tech industry where it seems like there's like I think we treat farmers like they are consumers as opposed to like this is a business.
Yeah. No, I think that's an interesting perspective. And I do think that if you just think about apps, I don't know that many apps are super focused on the business user. I think the apps you mentioned are like more consumer facing apps anyways. So I think you just have to be wise about the problems you're trying to help them solve. When we look at like comparisons for Gradable and trying to help farmers do grain marketing, we're looking at apps like Robinhood,
right?
Those type of apps that are focused on the Fidelity app that are helping consumers like manage their portfolio of stocks or whatever. Like those have gotten a lot of traction.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Banking, same thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have moved to like online banking through the app. So there have been a lot of financial aspects that have went down the technology path. Mm-hmm. So that's, I think, kind of the more model that we're trying to follow. And then I would say, outside of that, I'd say there's probably some merit to what you're saying, which is like, okay, we're trying to like bring consumer ideas to this business, and I would say that's probably part of the reason why there's been a lot of struggle there.
Well, we don't have like, I mean, we are a business. Purdue University is a business. It's not for profit, but like all of our software solutions, I hope this doesn't get me in trouble. Like they're not tailored to our needs, right? Like it seems like we're just like jamming, right? These big sort of overarching systems that we have are like kind of clunky and big. It's interesting because I think that when I see ag tech solutions, it's like, we're going to solve these specific problems. And I'm like, these big institutions seem to buy technology solutions that aren't necessarily tailored to their specific tasks, so to speak, right? And then they kind of make them work. Like, it seems like business software isn't necessarily friendly.
Yeah.
In all the ag tech I see is.
Yeah, it probably depends on what you're trying to solve, right? I think we use a lot of business tech at FBN, and there are, like, I would say that a lot of software we use is pretty user-friendly.
Okay.
Yeah. Not great, though. I mean, they're not perfect, but I also think they're trying to solve, like, these big problems and
Right.
trying to kind of do everything for everybody. Where, like, one thing that we do have, especially at Gradable, is, like, we have a pretty clear mission, right? It's like, okay, we work a lot with grain buyers, we work a lot with farmers. We are trying to help them better transact and sell grains, right?
Yeah.
So it's a kind of a niche problem, and we can really focus in on that. And I don't know that, like, a do everything app could, like, I think that'd be too hard to bite off, I think.
So kind of question, maybe not about the firms you've worked with specifically, but kind of ag tech in general question I have. So this is mostly based on pop culture, right? Which is like my sort of preconceived notion of like the tech world is my goal is to create something like in my basement or in my garage that will either grow to dominate the world, right? It would be like an Amazon, or I'll do this thing relatively on my own and it'll grow just big enough that Amazon's going to buy me, right?
Yeah.
And so like I'm going to have this price checking thing that Amazon now is going to want.
Yeah.
Like in the ag tech, are there companies that are sort of wanting to start and become like this big freestanding, long lasting company, or want to be acquired by some other either existing ag company or existing technology company? Like what's the
That's a good question.
Yeah.
like what's sort of the, do you think like would be the successful, like we've made it point for a lot of the ag tech companies?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you should always, the first strive for success is just like you solved a problem for farmers and you started to get customers, which is really, really hard.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But once you get past that,
Once you get past the
like,
stage one production,
what's the long-term path? I think every company probably start out to be big, and they want to be like a staple forever. At least every company that I've been a part of. I do understand there's like smalls, and like our exit plan in here is just to like sell.
yeah,
and
we're
get cash.
gonna get this big enough that then some big guy's gonna want to buy it for a.
I've probably ran across a couple of those type of companies in my day, but I've always been more attracted to the long-term FBN. If you remember when they were first launched, like we're going to take over the world, is kind of their mentality. We're going to be like the ag company, which that's been a tough battle to do that. But still, that was the original, that was the ambition. I would say that still. Yeah, I would say there hasn't been that like breakout ag tech company that is like a staple, right? I think the FBN still has a chance to pull that off, but I think we've proven that's really, really hard to do, right? It takes a lot of capital. It takes a lot of like understanding your customers and continuing to just like be consistent and solve problems with them over a really long period of time. Just look at like the staple companies in agriculture today. They've all been around forever.
Yeah.
Maybe there's been a couple like Precision Planting would be like a company that's popped up recently that was like a staple and it kind of had that exit trajectory, but they ended up getting acquired.
Yeah.
Well, and it kind of brings to another question we ask a lot on the podcast, which is what are the constraints limiting achieving those goals, right? Is it, I wish I had more people, or I wish we had more capital, or I wish we didn't have to live in Indiana, or what's the limit, do you think, that are preventing that?
Yeah, interesting. We should talk about that because I don't know that I have the answer, but we can maybe we could ideate on it. Which is for me, I would think capital is probably the toughest thing. To be, I think if you want to be that like long-standing company, you want to get to like an IPO or be in the public markets, and then I think that's a really difficult barrier to like jump into.
Oh, for sure.
So then if you stay in the venture capital backed world. And it's the same with the public markets, whether you're private markets or public markets. The goal that you have to maintain this growth, and you need consistent growth over time. And if you have a really good year of growth, you're excited in the moment, but then you're also in the back of your mind, you're like, man, we got to figure out how to sustain this.
Well,
because if you get that little hill, then the capital dries up.
Everybody's
So
no more.
Well, especially
really-
the venture capital world, right? Which is like if you got every farmer on board, it's like 2 million customers, right? Which is like, that would be amazing, right? But then like they're used to thinking of like Duolingo that's like,
Yeah.
we added 3 million people this quarter or something. You're like
Yeah.
like there is sort of a kind of natural limit, I think, when we think about like user experience, like when you're already dealing in sort of a niche market, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say that's probably what led FBN down this path where some from afar would be like, why are you in so many different things, right? Like FBN's trying to sell chemical, sell land loans. They're doing gradable. They're doing all these different things. You're like, why are you? You're doing
Because if you
too
want to
much.
get to 10 million,
Yeah,
you got to have
well,
2
if-
million people buy 5 things, right?
Exactly. You've got to like be able to bundle and offer them a lot of different services, value in a lot of different ways. So it is difficult, right? I think that's why if you are like a niche type company, you do just run out of steam because you just hit a cap.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in the tech world, right? Because the percent of farmers that are like techie is not 2 million. It's a much smaller number. So you got to figure out how to like offer them enough value and enough services that your business continues to grow, you continue to grow capital, and you can keep the flywheel turning.
In your current role, how much of it is like you're the gut check for people writing software to say like, no, that's not going to work, guys. Like that's not the problem that these farmers are thinking about. How much of it is just that?
Yeah, I think I'm really fortunate in my current role to be able to be like a pulse of the farmer. It's not always been that way, but I do think that just right now I find myself in a position where my perspective is really valued, and I do talk to engineers on a daily basis about and designers on this is what farmers want, this is what farmers need. Basically, I've done the homework. This is what they want.
Yeah.
I can have confidence in that. That is one that's kind of the opportunities kind of come and gone over the years. And I also think it just takes a long time to feel confident in what what farmers need. I don't know that I was that confident for that for a long period.
So I keep asking vague questions, but is that part of the challenge with ag tech is that there does need to be some sort of a buffer between farmers and sort of software developers. So if we would shorten that up, it would be quicker.
Possibly. I mean, I do think that having a really good perspective on the farmer and like really understanding the farmer's problems, which I think I've just been fortunate due to my upbringing, I can do that. But I don't think that everybody can. And I think it's really hard for people from outside of agriculture to then ingrain themselves into that space and to be able to like confidently answer that, because you just run into so many biases, right? It's like, oh, well, I'm going to do a bunch of research. Like that's how I'm going to develop my opinion and perspective on what farmers need. I'm going to go talk to farmers. I mentioned I talk to farmers, but you still like, as you do that, you run into a lot of biases because the only people that will like talk to you about technology are like a certain niche farmers that are wired this certain way. So I think it's hard to like come up with like a solution that works for a lot of folks without having a feeling those problems. Like I love the position I'm in now because one of my roles on our farm is to help market the grain.
Yeah.
So it is a pain that I feel. And I think farmers feel it too, right? Your emotions swinging with the grain markets. Like that's a real thing that you feel. And I think it's hard to like come up with solutions for that. I think I'm just fortunate to be in the position I am where I feel it and they can come up with
Well, and
solutions
you
for
are somebody that is interested and cares about the marketing part of it, right? Because the other thing is when I taught farm management, right, there's farmers that are just obsessed with like the science of agriculture.
Yeah.
Right? And they'll talk to you about weeds.
Yeah.
But the second we're like, hey, we're going to talk to you about crop insurance right now, they're like, I'm going to get a coffee and go stand in the deck.
Yeah.
Like, I'm out. Right. And so it seems like it's consistent also with a techie kind of space, for lack of a better term, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm kind of interested in this anyway, right? Like, are a lot of the clients that our farmers interact with the ones that get the new cell phone every year or buy a new TV more frequently because they've added some bell and whistle? Or
Yeah, I would say that like those are the farmers that you go after first, right? Because they are the most likely to adopt your technology and just give feedback, right? So like when I'm doing these feedback sessions with farmers, they are the more tech forward farmers. I try to, get some, but they're just harder to get a hold of.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to like pick your market, and that is the attractive market to go after, right? Because you're like, I'm going to develop this app that works for you know, the 500-acre farmer that doesn't use a smartphone. Well, you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
Right. You've got to be like, all right, I'm going to go after the like 1,500-acre farmer that like loves technology because they're the most likely to adopt. And then if we can solve a problem for them, we're going to hope that same problem will then be able to like help out the longer tail of farmers.
So do you just like go to Commodity Classic and just look for guys wearing those like meta glasses or whatever? Like, that's our guy. Let's talk to him.
Well, that's a good idea.
I'm just coming up with great,
Yeah, it's
actionable
I know you are.
ideas.
You are.
We should take these off of the
Okay, so this is a question for both of you because like sometimes I don't even know what my problem is, right? Like I think that's the thing with like smartphones. I remember distinctly riding to a basketball game with your parents, and you had the original iPhone, and I was like, dude, we're never gonna type on screens, right? Like we're never gonna use the keyboards on screens. So I'm like, like that's a daunting task. How do you think through that? Like frequently, I don't know what.
Yeah.
Like if you interviewed me, I am terrified at what you would develop that I probably won't use in the future.
Yeah. I don't want to act like I have this all figured out, but I do think that you've just got to figure out how to solve a problem. And if you solve that problem really well, like the users, like the people will come to it. You're right. Typing on a screen, like it is worse than typing on a BlackBerry. It just is worse. But it's like, oh yeah, but also you like can watch movies way better or whatever, right? So they're like, and if you look at like farmers and technology adoption, I do think that like great products get used. Precision planting has a great product that almost every farmer that I talk to, they have a precision planting unit in it. It's like, well, they like created something great and they figured out how to get farmers to use it, and they solved a problem and they nailed the price point, and you know, there you go. You have a business. Like sometimes that's how easy it is. So I think that you just have to start with, from my perspective, start with the problem, and then how do you come up with an accessible solution for that? I don't know. We'll see if we continue to pull that off.
Chad, if you need someone to tell you what your problems are, I'm always.
Really?
Yeah, I can point out a couple.
Oh, all right.
Like you
We'll
look
all up later.
you look too much like a young Lorenzo Lynx.
I heard that one.
Oh, we need to ask you, Brant. The listeners have been wondering this entire time. Do you
when
have
they've been picturing this? Now, this is going to be jarring for some of our listeners.
It is.
It'd be interesting to be able to have them phone in and say, "Here's who I've been picturing." This is not a call-in. This is a podcast.
It's true.
But yeah, Brant, what celebrity have you been told you look like?
So I have been told a couple times that I look like Ryan Reynolds, but they're always weird. They always are very specific that it's Ryan Reynolds in the Green Lantern, which I assume that means he was like fatter and balder. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing about Ryan Reynolds, though. I feel like this is a compliment in many ways because Ryan Reynolds not only is very talented, he's also been extremely successful outside of being an entertainer.
In the startup space. With
Exactly.
companies he starts.
It is not a fair comparison.
Would you
Reynolds.
say
I
that
feel
you're
bad.
the Ryan Reynolds of ag tech?
No, Ryan, if you're listening to this podcast, I don't look like you, and I'm sorry for the disrespect.
But do you think it's not because you look like him, but because you like sort of just capture his persona?
Definitely
Actually,
not.
I
It's
would
definitely
actually
not.
bet he wears
the
that
only
outfit.
people that have ever told me I look like Ryan Reynolds are like Uber drivers, so they don't know me.
I think the problem with Brant is that his Uber profile is a picture of Ryan.
Oh
Reynolds.
crap!
We have solved.
We solved it. We solved it.
That's where that came from.
Daggone it.
How are we doing on time?
I
Should
think we should go to the lightning round.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since you're in the ag tech space, I'm sure you're familiar with the stereotypes of tech bros.
Yeah.
Which stereotype of tech bros is the least accurate, and which stereotype is the most accurate?
This is good.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think they're all probably pretty accurate. And I would say most people in my hometown would classify me as a tech bro, and they're probably right. Like, who am I to say that they're wrong? Like,
So how many Patagonia vests do you own?
yeah, I did wear a vest today, which is really weird.
It's not Patagonia, though.
It's not Patagonia. Yeah, this was a gift from my mom. I don't wear. My wife was like, "Why are you dressed up today?" And I was like, "Well, Chad always dresses up.
I do.
Yeah.
And
I
I
do.
didn't want to be uncomfortable. If I would have known Todd was just going to be wearing a t-shirt today, I would have wore a t-shirt.
Yeah.
So I
That's a really Ryan Reynolds move of you.
Matches the room he's in.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, there definitely is like the one thing I will say about Tech Bros, of which I am one, like I do believe in like typically some of the things that they dive into, like they are like I do like those things, right? Like the joggers had a moment. Joggers are right. They're like those are comfortable.
I actually agree.
Joggers are
100%.
Yeah, the joggers.
Yeah.
Except I got big calves,
Okay.
so I actually do it better in a straight sweatpant. That's my
Yeah, but
problem.
you have like travel pants. You have specific.
I own travel pants.
He likes to pretend like he's every man, but he owns a specific pair of travel pants.
Yeah.
We're doing great at keeping this at the lightning pace.
If we put it at 2x speed, it's going to be fast.
But
Yeah.
Brant just did say on the record he loves everything about tech. He wears Patagonia. He likes ayahuasca tea. All of the isn't that one of the
Yeah. Honestly, some of those things I didn't get into. I'm not Patagonia. I'm too cheap, and not ayahuasca.
To call back to your earlier experience and that we've talked about on the podcast. What's your opinion of a shoot first point guard versus just bringing the ball up the floor and setting up the play for others?
Good question.
Answer it too after you're done.
Yes. Yeah, that'd be great.
Brayton only does one of those two things.
Well, depends on your team, right? If you're on the FFA team, you're only shooting. Because you're like, if I pass it to Chad, he's going to shoot. So I'm going to take my chances.
You
with
better
that.
believe I'm going to shoot.
But I played basketball this morning. And I think in that setting, you just got to know your role, right? So in that setting, I'm not the best player on the team. I'm like, you scout the team. You're like, okay, most days I'm the fifth best player on the team. So I need to be passing.
So you're just
I got to
distributing.
pass.
You're the
Yep.
fifth best player. That's hard for me to believe.
I mean, it depends on
Who are you
the
trying?
day.
Who are you trying to butter up here?
This is no longer the FFN team, is what he's saying. He's playing. He's moved
know.
up to the 4-H team.
How
It's
many
very
people?
dependent. For Purdue basketball, I love the best. I love like Brant Smith is the perfect point guard to me.
Oh, I should ask you. Just
Yeah.
a Purdue light. I got a Purdue lightning.
That's a good
question.
idea.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
All-time favorite Purdue basketball player.
yeah, it's Carson Edwards. Yeah, it's Carson.
Oh,
Yeah, so interesting though because I just said I love Braden Smith as a pass first point guard. Carson Edwards is the opposite. So I guess maybe that's what I really.
That's who you aspire to be.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
see, if this was a farmer interview, what you just said
Yeah.
was one thing, but what you meant,
yeah,
like maybe you should work for tech companies.
Well, the other,
Yeah.
the other
pull
one,
that
the other. We'll just stay on this great lightning round. We're on. Which
I do. Sorry, I do want to say Zach Edey was also great. So Zach, if you listen to this, I think you're great too.
So which this is how I tell a Purdue basketball fan from regular basketball fans. Which do you like more, hard work or natural talent?
Gosh, I mean, I know what you want me to answer. You want me to say hard work.
But you said Carson Edwards. That's natural talent.
I know,
Yeah.
like really, yeah. I honestly, you want both, right? Like, I hate to be like cliche to that answer,
Wow.
but like,
Well, he does hang out
but
with Chad.
if you are just hard work, right? If you're just the hard work guys, then when Chad and I were here, you were here too.
You're gonna say
2006, 2007. Those were a lot of hard-working guys,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And then who came in 2007? You had Etwan, Robbie, JJ. Those were some talent guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, we got a lot better. So I guess I will answer talent as
Okay, and then
talent.
this is a fan favorite from our fan. If you had a time machine that you could use to get better at your job, only use it for work purposes.
Yeah.
When are you going?
when am I going to get better, for me to get better at my job, or
It's-
to like
it's-
redo a decision?
No. It's just a work issue time machine. You go to work tomorrow, and they're like, "Hey, guess what? We got a time machine. You can't use it for recreation,
Okay.
but if you got something that'll make you better at your job, take the time machine for a spin."
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do think that rolling back to there were some eras of FBN where we were like trying to solve a lot of big problems, and I would say that some of those problems we fell short on, and I'd love to like go back and get another shot at them. Right. Like specifically like seed is I worked in seed for a while, and seed is like this part of agriculture that just drives me crazy, speaking from a farmer's perspective, because it's kind of like sorry, this is not a lightning round answer.
All right, I'm ready.
But if you think of agriculture and your ability for a farmer to be like long-term profitability, there are these two like huge pillars in the way that always just kind of suck out profitability, and it's seed costs, it's fertilizer costs. And fertilizer is like this massive problem. It's really hard to solve. I don't know, but seed, I feel like somebody could figure out, at least I thought we had a path to try to solve it and try to help bring some price relief to the seed industry. And I don't think we were as successful as I'd like to be. So I'd love to like go back and take another shot at that.
Could you have influenced it in a different way?
I mean, I was fortunate to be in a good, in like a pretty influential role at that time. And looking back at what we would have done differently, I think we, first of all, we like brought low cost seed to the market right when there was a nice little swing up in the value of corn, which just makes people not want to go cheap on seed. And then I do think that like there's just some different steps. I think that if we would have stayed on this path a little bit longer, if we would have executed a little bit better, we could have got some like extra exit trajectory and could have made a little bit of a dent there. And unfortunately we fell short. So yeah, we did like the core problem. One was, I think our genetics weren't as good as they should have been. But the exciting thing, I think we were trying to bring off patent Roundup Ready to market.
Oh yeah, okay.
And we were just like a couple years short of that. And it's still hard, right? You got to bring it into genetics. There's a lot of things you have to do. But I do think if you could solve for that problem, and then you could solve like bugs, I think you can manage in other ways. But if you could solve for that, I do think you could bring a lot of pressure relief.
Brant, as the tech guy, the resident tech guy in this room,
Tech bro.
And my
to
joggers.
to take the time machine into the future.
Yeah.
I figure we finally get to go to the future, but no, everyone goes to the past.
Because I think Brant, though, he's hardworking, right? And what's haunting him is you can go back and change something.
Yeah, the future will come, and that's fine.
Okay.
I do think going back and trying to solve mistakes.
So
is probably
speaking
where
of the
it's-
future, Brant, what do you see? Ag tech. What's the cool thing?
Yeah,
thinking about?
I mean this would be a little bit of a tech bro answer, but I do think that what LLMs and AI can bring to like the ag financial space is really cool and exciting, and I'm excited to see what happens there. I think that's been the biggest barrier for ag financial tools to take off, has been that it's so hard to like get somebody to change to a new system, right? Like my mom does all the accounting on our farm, and she just is really comfortable with this software that she's been using for a long time. And to get her to change, it's like, why would I change? What are you talking about? This works fine. It solves my problems. I don't need to change. I think now we finally have like a step forward where you could do ag financials in a totally different way, right? Like just take a picture of an invoice, or just really personalize advice based off of my information specific to me. And I think that there'll be some cool technologies that come out of that.
Since we're in the crystal ball world, when you're closer to like the retirement stage of your career, do you think there will be fewer ag tech companies or more ag tech companies?
I sure hope more. I mean, my opinion on where things are heading and with these AI tools, I do think that fast forward a couple of years, you'll be able to create these things with way less people, create technologies with way less people than you used to be able to, right? So some of we talked about barriers that ag companies run into. We said it was capital. We need capital so that you can hire more people, so that you can build more things. I do think that some of that barrier will be removed, where I could just use this AI tool to run a handful of engineers that build the tools that I want, and I can do the work that a 100-person company, that would take today. I could do that with 5 people, for example. And if you do that, then you have a lot of smaller companies that are solving niche problems. Because like you could never justify a business to solve a really specific problem. We should be like, well, it's not a big enough business. Like you're not going to be able to get to IPO level. You're not going to be able to.
Yeah.
Well, now it's like with some of these new technologies, like, no, I can stay small because my cost to develop it's going to be so much lower. Sure. This could be like my own little.
So it's almost closer to like tinkering again, right? Where you can rig up a solution to your niche problem, and you don't have to care as much. Am I going to be able to get X number of people to adopt this thing, right?
Yeah, at least I hope. I hope that's the way that it goes, because I think a lot of smaller companies that are creating cool technologies is better for the farmer.
This is not an ag tech question. This is a tech bro question.
Okay.
Oh, good.
What do you think is the most underrated app that I should have on my cell phone?
Oh, wow. Other than Gradable?
Well, I already have that one.
Gosh, I don't want to give too basic of an answer. I'll give two. You probably already have the ChatGPT app. ChatGPT app is incredible. Okay, I asked it on the way here. I sent the link to your guys' podcast to it. And I said, hey, I'm doing this podcast. Just like, give me help me get in the right mindset. And ChatGPT knows you guys better than you know yourselves.
Oh,
So
now I want to
just, yeah.
So wait,
just-
why don't you ask? Okay, so let's go back to the tech thing. Why aren't you just having ChatGPT talk to the farmers?
That's why I was telling you that I do think that LLMs will be a key part, but I just think that's and FBN does have their own LLM norm that will answer agronomy questions, and help with tank mixes and things like this. After the OG agronomist norm, with this last name,
Borlog.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's really what it's named for?
Yeah.
I use ChatGPT to make stuff I'm writing to students sound less like a boring professor.
Yeah.
So I'd lead a study abroad trip, and I will write my email that I'm going to tell them, we're going to meet at the airport.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, can you make this more exciting for a student going on a study abroad trip? And then it's always like, get ready for the trip of a lifetime. And I'm like,
Wow.
let's dial it back a little bit.
Yeah.
It's way too
Down-
nice right now.
down
It's way too
20%.
excitable. Yeah, way too excitable. And then I do think the other app that I would recommend, I think the Robinhood app is incredible. And I think that if I make this joke quite often, but it's introduced me to trading options. I've lost hundreds of dollars, but I'm not mad at Robinhood because they do such a good job of explaining what you're doing.
Chad has lost that much money with Duolingo, we've learned. So
Yeah. And it's just well, I don't blame the app. They fully informed me on what I was getting myself into. But it does help me. It's helped me learn a lot about.
we should let our listener know that we are not being sponsored by either of those apps
Yeah.
at this time.
Brant, last thing, housekeeping item here. You're doing something cool.
We are launching a gradable app here in June. So for our partners that we work with, Poet and ADM, they'll both be promoting this app over the summer. And again, the goal of the app is to try to help farmers better manage their grain marketing. So I hope that if any farmers that are listening to this, I hope you please try out the Gradable app. It links up with your Poet and ADM account. And the goal is to help you better market your grain. If you have any questions, reach out to me. We'll put it in the show notes.
There we go. Oh, perfect.
Well, I think we've covered pretty much everything we thought we were going to cover and more.
And I think we've just run out of things to talk about. We should just go back
There's
to our
no way
office
we've run
assignment.
out of things to talk about. We hope you've enjoyed the conversation that we had with Brant. I learned a lot after knowing Brant for decades. So even after decades, I learned a lot. I feel like it was a really helpful conversation. So we teased in the intro that we know there might be more than one listener.
Yes.
So this is the first time we're going to make this plea. The plea being, we've told you what our objective is, to try to understand the ag economy, to have these free-flowing conversations. So if you or someone you think would be interested in engaging with this podcast, send us a note. If you're willing to come to campus, we are at Purdue University.
In West Lafayette, Indiana.
We'd love to have a conversation about it. We'd buy you a mediocre to pretty good cup of coffee.
Yeah, depending on your tastes. We
Yeah.
think it's good. You might think it's mediocre.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't think it's poor.
No, it's not bad. We're
Yeah.
all in agreement that it's better than poor.
So tell your friends that this podcast exists. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you again the next time.
And feel free to tune into the previous ones we've had if you're
Oh,
just
good
joining
call.
us for the first time. We got some really good ones lined up. We're going to keep talking about ag investing space. We're going to talk to some people about farm management and businesses and how they've grown over time or changed. So we've already learned a lot. We got some in the can for you, but we're always looking for new ones.
Should we tease that we may be going on location?
Oh, yeah. We're taking this on the road. We're going to go visit some farms in a different part of the country where we know very little. We're going to learn a ton. But we think even our Midwest-based listeners will enjoy it because they'll learn something. But we think the Southern-based listeners, if nothing else, will enjoy laughing at how little we know.
Nice. Nice
so-
tease.
Yeah, so
Where
come-
in the South are Todd and Chad going?
Oh, that's a surprise to come.
It is.
But I know. Do you know where we're going?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, good. So we know, so that you'll find out.